Hibernian, the most prosperous Scottish club, had to wait 114 years to win the Scottish Cup. And do you know the reason? Lack of coordination? Nope. You won't believe it was a gypsy woman's curse. Believe it or not, the footballing world is rife with superstition. Whether it be a supporter's lucky pair of socks or a player touching the top of the tunnel as they enter the field, there's bad luck and then there's outright witchcraft. Here are the 7 worst curses in football history. Number 7. The Wrath of Old Big Ears. Almost every football player grows up fantasizing about winning the Champions League. It must be agonizing to walk by it without touching it, especially after working your way up to the final. There is no better example of why touching the cup before a final is unlucky than recent Champions League history. But Ludovic Giuly demonstrated in 2004 that it could be prudent to refrain from touching the largest prize in European club football. He touched it before the match while lining up for AS Monaco, and the result? In Germany, they were defeated by FC Porto, led by Jose Mourinho, 3-0. Then before the Istanbul Championship match versus Liverpool, Gennady Gattuso did it. In 2012, Anatoly Timoshchuk of Bayern Munich also touched the trophy as he walked onto the field. The result? The players in their teams failed in their respective championship games. Number 6. The number 7 jersey. Manchester United's number 7. It is steeped in tradition and has been worn by superstars like George Best, Brian Robson, Eric Cantona, David Beckham and Cristiano Ronaldo. But it would be surprising that the number has pressure and eventually failure for all of its bearers for a decade. When Ronaldo left for Real Madrid in 2009, the position passed to Michael Owen, a player whose most noteworthy accomplishments are limited to winning the Manchester Derby. Following his selection as the Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year in 2012, Antonio Valencia accepted it just to swiftly revert to his previous 25. In addition to Alexis Sanchez potentially being released shortly, Angel Di Maria and Memphis Depay only lasted 12 and 18 months respectively. In the previous 10 seasons, United's number 7s have only netted 14 goals in the Premier League. Number 5. The Gentlemen of Cali. It was 1948. The Gentlemen's Club gathered in a meeting to discuss joining the professional league when Benjamin Auria, one of the owners of the football club America di Cali, passionately opposed the proposal. "They can do whatever they want with the team, but I swear to God they will never be champions," he shouted before storming out of the room. While the others laughed at his assertion, it took America di Cali 31 years after winning the league championship in 1979 for them to win their first professional championship. Then in 1980, the club won 5 straight national championships. And do you know how? It was a result of an exorcism conducted on the pitch by journalist Rafael Medina and singer Antonio Del Vivar. Although the club have appeared in 4 finals, 3 of which were consecutive, they have yet to win the Copa Libertadores championship, which is why many people still think the curse is still in effect. Number 4. Australia and the World Cup curse. In November 1969, the Socceroos, the members of the Australian national soccer team, travelled to Mozambique to play against Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe, in a best-of-2 series. This was part of their efforts to earn a spot in Mexico's 1970 World Cup. The Australians were heavy favourites, and it was assumed that the games would be formalities. However, both games ended in draws and a third match was scheduled. At this juncture, a local journalist gave the Australian team a tip. They should hire a witch doctor, also known as an Unyunga, to curse the Rhodesian side in order to assist them to win the decisive game. A team of players decided to visit the Unyunga after the reporter informed them that the practice was widespread in Mozambique. That night, the Unyunga went to the field of play and buried some bones near the goalposts. The Rhodesian team was cursed. The Socceroos were about to leave the next match, which Australia had won 3-1, when the Unyunga approached them and demanded a payment of £1,000 for his service. The players were either reluctant or unable to pay. The plan backfired. The Unyunga decided to reverse the curse and place it on the Socceroos instead. The result? Australia failed to qualify for the World Cup for 32 years. John Safran's 2004 television series, John Safran vs. God, Episode 7, purportedly saw him release the curse. Safran travelled to Mozambique and engaged a new witch doctor to go through the original to lift the curse. Since then, the Socceroos have earned spots in the 2010, 14, 18 and 22 World Cups. Number 3. The irreversible curse of Bela Gutmann. The curse that has befallen Portuguese powerhouse Benfica since the bitter departure of great manager Bela Gutmann in 1962 is arguably the most well known in all of sport. After leaving bitter rivals Porto, Gutmann came to Lisbon and immediately undertook a massive squad makeover to advance up-and-coming players, and the team went on to win back-to-back Portuguese championships. In 1961, Benfica under Gutmann broke Real Madrid's monopoly on the European Cup by converting that success into European triumph. The following year, Benfica kept the illustrious trophy, although it was still their final European Championship medal overall. Even though it was a huge success, the board refused Gutmann a wage rise. The angry Gutmann cursed the team in protest. He cursed, "Not in 100 years from now will Benfica ever be European champions." The result was disastrous for the club. The club lost the championship in 1963, 65 and 68 after his departure. In 1983, 2013 and 2014, the team also lost in the UEFA Europa League finals. Number 2. The Curse of the Romani Gypsies. The Romani Gypsies are well known for their fateful curses in football history. Their most famous is when Birmingham City's construction of St Andrews in 1906 brought a 100-year curse upon them. A curse and a century of misfortune for the Blues resulted from the land being used at the time by Romani Gypsies. At the conclusion of their first complete season, they were demoted, and the very first game at St Andrews was delayed by an hour owing to snow. The main stand was destroyed by fire during World War II, and in the 1990s, it cost £250,000 to remove toxic garbage. Fans' suffering was made worse by the club's lack of major trophy victories. In an effort to break the curse, Ron Saunders, the former manager, hung crucifixes from the floodlights. Another former manager, Barry Fry, instead did a weird act. He peed in each of the four corners of the pitch. Birmingham was demoted in 2006, the final year of the curse, after a century of ups and downs. However, the team won its first major trophy in just 5 years with the League Cup victory in an improbable Wembley victory over a much favoured Arsenal. Derby County Football Club was also the target of a Romani Gypsy group's curse. The Gypsies had to migrate when the team built its stadium, and the club was supposedly cursed to never win the FA Cup, and they weren't. The club made it to 3 finals and 6 FA Cup semi-finals between 1896 and 1903, but was unable to win the competition. A club representative travelled to the Gypsies to try and break the curse before they finally made it to the final in 1946. When it was 1-1 in the game, the ball exploded, and Derby went on to win the match 4-1, indicating that the curse had been lifted. Number 1. Racing's Dead Cats. One of the most prosperous clubs in Argentina was the Racing Club, and it was during the 1960s that they attained their zenith. Racing defeated Nacional on August 29, 1967, and as a result became the first team in the club's history to win the Copa Libertadores. It was a historical occasion that also gave them the opportunity to play in the Intercontinental Cup, where Racing Club faced the Scottish Celtics, the reigning European champions. The clubs entered dramatic playoffs following a 2-2 tie. Only the third playoff, won by Racing Club, determined the outcome of the game. While Racing Club fans were celebrating their victory, the Independiente fans were doing something horrific. They broke into the home team stadium and buried 7 dead cats. This fictitious ritual was designed to curse the Racing Club. Despite how absurd it may seem, it ultimately succeeded. Since that time, Racing Club changed significantly. In fact, they no longer resembled the Racing Club fans were accustomed to seeing. They seemed to be performing worse as time went on. Racing failed to win any awards in the 1970s after taking first place in the major club competition in South America in 1967. In 1983, they were demoted from the top division in Argentina. Evidently, it led to the club's demise from the Copa Libertadores champion to bankruptcy. In 1999, a priest reportedly performed an exorcism at the stadium. Over 100,000 Racing Club supporters came and began looking for the 7 cat bodies in an effort to break the curse. They searched extensively and in great numbers, but they only discovered 6 of the 7 buried corpses. The 7th remained buried on the pitch. Later, under the direction of the new manager, Reynaldo Merlo, the pitch was eventually completely excavated in 2001 in an effort to locate the 7th cat and end the curse. Once they did, Racing Club won their first division championship in 35 years. The curse was lifted, as they believe.